This is inexcusable, and DiJonai Carrington needs to be suspended for Game 2. DiJonai Carrington suspended for using steroids, and I'm not even shocked. I mean, should we really be surprised that the queen of dirty play got caught red-handed? It's like she's been playing her own twisted version of the game. How to cheat, attack, and still think you're a star. It was a cheap shot. It was not a basketball play. She should have been ejected. The WNBA should hand her a trophy. Oh wait, they already did. It's called suspension. Bravo, DiJonai. You're finally getting the spotlight you so desperately craved, just not the kind that ends with applause. I mean, who would have thought that the same player who tried to gouge out Caitlin Clark's eyeball would stoop so low? This is just another chapter in Carrington's sad little saga of doing whatever it takes to get ahead because apparently actual talent just isn't her thing. Not exaggerated. Caitlin Clark's trying to pass the ball in the first 2 minutes of the game, and this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down at her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. This is a flat-out embarrassment for the entire league. Steroids? Really, DiJonai? Guess getting some muscles the honest way was just too hard, huh? There should have been a fine that was incurred thereafter. The WNBA should honestly be thanking her for making it so clear what not to do if you want to be taken seriously as a professional athlete. And can we talk about the timing? Carrington was getting hyped up as some rising star and up-and-coming talent in women's basketball, averaging 12.1 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. Well, all those stats are officially garbage now. Every single point, every rebound, every so-called highlight is now under a cloud of doubt. Congratulations, DiJonai, you successfully turned your entire career into a joke. And DiJonai is one of these people that has a real problem with Caitlin Clark. But let's not forget the real highlight of her career so far, that infamous eye poke on Caitlin Clark. Remember that? Of course you do. That was the moment we all realized Carrington isn't just lacking in talent, she's lacking in sportsmanship, class, and apparently self-respect. Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA. Seriously, who the hell resorts to eye poking in a professional basketball game? Was she training with the Three Stooges or something? If you can't outplay your opponent, just poke him in the eye, right? What's next? Kicking players in the shins when the refs aren't looking. Do you think that had any impact on the game? Do you think that your meal ticket should be stabbed in the eye intentionally on the court? And the impact it had on Caitlin Clark was no joke either. Carrington didn't just injure her physically, she tried to mess with her mentally. As if Clark needed more distractions while already carrying her team. I mean, how pathetic do you have to be to try and take out one of the best players in the league just because you can't keep up? Carr in the WNBA. Yeah, obviously it got me pretty good in the eye. We struggled to get stops at times, but also the clock getting messed up. It was just one thing after the next, but overall it didn't bother me. And now finding out she's been using steroids all along. Oh, so that's how she thought she could keep up, by juicing herself up like a character from a bad superhero movie. But let's be honest, even with all the help from those illegal substances, she's still out here playing dirty. Talk about a total lack of confidence in your own abilities. Damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this DiJonai Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye. This steroid scandal is just the cherry on top of a long list of trashy behavior. The WNBA has been struggling to maintain its integrity, and then you have players like DiJonai bringing it all down. This isn't some random slip-up. This is a pattern. This is the same player who can't even make it through a game without getting into altercations and cheap shooting her opponents. And guess what? Now we know why she was so eager to be physical on the court. All that aggression wasn't just her trying to make a name for herself. It was probably the roid rage talking. The reactions from fans and players have been brutal, and rightfully so. You've got people calling her out left and right for not just damaging her own reputation, but making a mockery out of the sport. You know what's worse than being known as a dirty player? Being known as a dirty player and a cheater. It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine. And now every single person who's ever praised her has to eat their words. DiJonai. Carrington went from being a potential role model to being the poster child for what happens when desperation and stupidity collide. And really the whole physicality thing, let's be real, she wasn't just physical, she was a walking hazard on the court. Eye-poking, shoving, arguing with refs like she's auditioning for WWE SmackDown instead of playing professional basketball. This girl's highlight reel looks more like a UFC fight night. Just look at that May 15th game against the Dallas Wings. DiJonai decided to leave sportsmanship in the locker room and went full throttle with an unnecessary shove. Like she forgot she was playing basketball and thought she was going for a football tackle. Mocking Caitlin Clark on the court, played a very physical game with her back then too. And look, does Caitlin Clark do some histrionic, some floppy? And perhaps I'm giving them this out on what happened yesterday. And what's next, DiJonai? Tackling the refs if they make a call against you? Because honestly, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. And don't even get me started on her spectacular foul stats, averaging 3.5 fouls per game when the league average is 2.1. Oh, she's not just crossing the line, she's pole vaulting over it and planting a flag there. What a role model, right? Forget about actually playing basketball. DiJonai teaching young athletes how to rack up penalties faster than points. That's her real talent? Showing the world how not to play. It's not even aggression at this point. It's desperation with a side of I wish I were actually good. But hey, let's add steroids to the mix and suddenly it all makes sense. You know how they say roids make people more aggressive? Well, Carrington must have been guzzling them like protein shakes. Her entire game revolves around charging at people like a bull on steroids. Oh wait, turns out she actually might have been one. And all that muscle she's packed on. DiJonai has a history with Caitlin Clark. Many of these girls in the WNBA, but she's at the top of the list. Yeah, hard work, right? Or maybe just a quick injection in the locker room before a game. Who needs practice when you can juice yourself up and pretend it's dedication? And here's the funniest part. Her performance has been all over the place. One night she's scoring 20 points, and the next she can barely hit 8. That's not just inconsistency. That's called my secret juice ran out, now I'm trash again. Seriously, DiJonai, if you're going to cheat, at least be good at it. Even your steroid use is sloppy. It's almost like she thought she was invincible and nobody would ever notice, but now she's caught, and instead of the crowd cheering for her big plays, they're booing her off the stage. How's that for karma? Body contact. Sometimes these guys are coming off screens and movements where they're just getting bodied a lot. I thought that was happening early. I thought AB was getting, not getting some calls down low that she probably should have. Oh, but let's not forget how she tried to justify her aggression. Oh, I'm just playing with passion. Girl, please, passion is blocking a shot or sinking a 3 under pressure. What you've been doing is throwing temper tantrums on the court and playing more like a street thug than a professional athlete. And now steroids, talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. If you need to cheat just to play your dirty little game, then you've got zero business being in this league. It's like she's been playing Monopoly with loaded dice and still manages to land in jail. The kind of stuff that's happening and has been happening over the last few months is because of Caitlin Clark. I got some of the stats in front of me to validate it because you see, I bring receipts and I'll get to why I'm really pissed off in a few minutes. But here's where it gets. So here we are, DiJonai Carrington, from rising star to suspended cheater in record time. She's not just a disgrace to the league, she's a warning sign. Want to know what not to do if you want to be respected in sports? Watch her highlights. It's a masterclass in how to ruin your own career. Instead of focusing on being better, she focused on being bigger. And now she's gone down harder than any player I've seen. What you pointed out, and I think this is real, and it's the real difference between men and women at our core. The women will be very jealous, and that, I think, is going to be a monster problem. I hope they get over it for the winning. Guys like to win, even if they're not the star. Well, great, and the best part. Now she's sidelined, sitting on the bench, wondering where it all went wrong. Well, DiJonai, here's a hint. It started when you decided to throw integrity out the window. Now, with this suspension, you're not just benched, you're erased. Your name will be synonymous with steroid scandals and cheap shots, not talent or skill. So congrats, DiJonai. You finally made history, just not the kind anyone wants to remember. So good riddance, DiJonai. Enjoy sitting on the sidelines where you belong. Maybe you'll finally get the time to reflect on how bad choices, bad sportsmanship, and cheating your way through the game have completely tanked what little respect you had left. Here's hoping the WNBA uses this as an example to show what happens when you try to take shortcuts. Because no matter how many steroids you pump into your system, you can't fake real talent. And you sure as hell can't hide from the consequences when you get caught.